The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding a meeting of the Cinco Ranch FFA chapter. Madam Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they're at their stations, and report back to you, Madam President. The Sentinel.
Station by the door.
Your duties there?
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they're welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the president in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag,
Why by the flag?
as the flag covers the United States of America. So I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The treasurer.
Stationed at the emblem of Washington.
Your duties there?
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements, just as Washington kept his farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standing through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there?
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom. Being older than the rest of you, I'm asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice will always be based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Madam Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is the token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Madam President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The secretary will call the roll of members.
There are 8 members and numerous guests present, Madam President.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here?
To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA member should possess.
May we accomplish our purposes. I now declare this meeting of the Cinco Ranch FFA chapter duly open for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. We will now have the minutes of the previous meeting.
Minutes of a regular meeting of the Cinco Ranch FFA chapter, Katy, Texas, October 10th, 2024. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by the President, Madeline Leach. 67 members were present. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. The treasurer reported balance on hand September 18th, 2024, $3,659.12. Total receipts, $250. Total disbursements, $1,057.40. Balance on hand October 10th, 2024, $2,851.72. Casey Williams, chairman of the social committee, reported that our next social would be December 1st at 4 p.m. at main event. The motion was made to purchase a set of hog scales for the school farm, costing less than $1,500. The motion was referred to a committee consisting of Abby Flores, Heather Jordan, and Bella Matthews. Abby would chair the committee, and they were given power to act. The meeting was adjourned at 8 p.m. and refreshments were served. Respectfully submitted, Heather Jordan, Secretary.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, they stand approved as read. Are there any officer reports?
Madam President, I have a treasurer's report.
Please proceed.
Treasurer's report, November 14th, 2024. Balance on hand at date of last report, $2,851.72. Receipts and sales report, FFA meat sale, $8,745. FFA t-shirt sale, $1,220. Total receipts, $9,965. Disbursements and sales report, sites fundraising for meat, $6,233. Total disbursements, $6,233. Present balance, $6,583.72. Signed, Sophia Robbins, Treasurer.
The treasurer's report is for information only. Are there any committee reports?
Madam President, I have a standing committee report.
Please proceed.
Standing committee report. As chairman of the Community Service Committee, I am pleased to announce that we have decided to adopt a family for the Christmas season. We will be taking donations for their Christmas dinner, as well as filling their wish list. A poster will be hung in the ag room with a list of items that are requested. Respectfully submitted, Bella Matthews, Chairman of the Community Service Committee. Madam President, this concludes my report.
The chapter appreciates the work of the Community Service Committee. Are there any other committee reports?
Madam President, I have a special committee report.
Please proceed.
As chairman of the Hog Scales Committee, I am pleased to announce that we were able to find hog scales within our budget from Katie Feed and Tack. The scales are in stock and will be delivered to the school farm Monday of next week. Respectfully submitted, Abigail Flores, Chairman of the Hog Scales Committee.
The chapter appreciates the work of the Hog Scales Committee. At this time, please file a copy of all reports with the Secretary. The Treasurer will also file a copy with the Vice President, who is Chairman of the Audit Committee. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam President, we do.
I would like to remind the chapter, my apologies, is there any old business? I would like to remind the chapter that at our September meeting, we tabled the motion to sell donuts during the National FFA Week. However, we did not act upon this motion at the October meeting. Therefore, it is null and void. If we would like to proceed with this action, we would need to make a new motion. Is there any new business?
Madam President.
Madam Reporter.
I move to sell donuts during National FFA Week.
Madam President, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to sell donuts during National FFA Week. It is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote, and it may be reconsidered. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President.
Madam Reporter, as maker of the motion, you have right to first debate.
I made this motion because we have discussed this motion before and it was a really good favorite for our chapter, and I know that our chapter really loves donuts and it would be awesome to have a sweet treat to celebrate National FFA Week.
Madam President.
Abby.
I disagree with this motion because we have sold donuts at every National FFA Week. I think we should change it.
Madam President.
Madam Secretary.
I move to amend the motion by striking out donuts and inserting breakfast tacos.
Madam President, I second that amendment.
It has been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking out donuts and inserting breakfast tacos. It is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote, and it may be reconsidered. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President.
Madam Secretary, as maker of the amendment, you have right to first debate.
This is a great idea because National FFA Week we usually celebrate more in the morning time, and breakfast tacos is a really good breakfast food that's not too sugary.
Madam President,
Abby.
I agree with this motion because breakfast tacos are very popular in our FFA chapter, and as Madam Secretary said, it is in the morning, so it'll be more convenient.
Is there any negative discussion?
Madam President.
Madam Treasurer.
Breakfast tacos would not be a good idea because meat can get kind of pricey and some people are allergic, so donuts could be just a sweet treat that our members can snack on, and it is in our budget.
Madam President,
Madam Vice President.
I move the previous question on the motion and its amendment.
Madam President, I second that motion.
The previous question has been called on the motion and its amendment. Shall we by general consent call the previous question? Hearing no objections, we shall. The previous question is called. We will now proceed to vote on the amendment to strike out donuts and insert breakfast tacos. Those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it and the amendment passes. The motion now before the chapter is to sell breakfast tacos during National FFA Week. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion passes. We will sell breakfast tacos during National FFA Week. What is the next item of business?
Madam President.
Mr. Sentinel.
I move to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $200.
Madam President, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $200. It is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote, and it may be reconsidered. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President,
Mr. Sentinel, as maker of the motion, you right to first debate.
$200 in spendings is very costly, and being able to have 2 quotes per spending will be good for this chapter.
Madam President,
Madam Secretary.
I move to refer the motion to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $200 to a committee.
Is there a second? Motion dies due to lack of second. The motion still before the chapter is to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $200. Is there any negative discussion?
Madam President,
Madam Reporter.
I disagree with this motion because as a chapter that has a lot of members, we make a lot of $200 purchases, and this would be really tedious for our chapter to do, so I think that we should up this amount if we do have quotes.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam President,
Madam Secretary.
as Madam Reporter said, $200 is a small amount for this chapter just because we have a lot of LDs and CD competitions to pay for, so upping this amount would be a great idea.
Madam President,
Madam Treasurer.
I move to amend the motion by striking out 200 and inserting 500.
Madam President, I second that amendment.
It has been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking out 200 and inserting 500. It is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote, and it may be reconsidered. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President,
Madam Treasurer.
as your chapter treasurer, I can assure you we have the funds for this, and this would just make it better for our chapter to buy things for our members and our chapter to be more successful.
Madam President,
Mr. Sentinel.
I still believe that $200 is the perfect fit for this motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Those in favor of the amendment to strike out 200 and insert 500 say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the amendment passes.
Division.
A division has been called. We will now proceed to vote in a more accurate manner. Those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. For Madam Secretary. Those opposed, raise your hand. 2, Madam Secretary. Being 4, and 2 against, the amendment passes. The motion now before the chapter is to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
Division.
A division has been called. We will now proceed to vote in a more accurate manner. Those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. 4, Madam Secretary. Those opposed, raise your hand. 2, Madam Secretary. Being 4, and 2 against, the motion passes, and we will require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. What is the next item of business?
Madam President,
Mr. Sentinel.
you are wanted at the door.
Thank you. Madam Vice President, will you please take over the duties of the chair? There are no current items of business on the floor.
Thank you. Please refer to me as Madam Chairman. What is the next item of business?
Madam Chairman.
Madam Secretary?
I move that the reporter attend a news writing workshop.
Madam Chairman, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the reporter attend a news writing workshop. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a majority vote. The floor is now open for discussion.
Madam Chairman.
Madam Secretary, as maker of this motion, you have right to first debate.
This is a great idea because since the reporter handles all of our social media, it would just be a great way for her to learn how to better send out news that's appealing and that more people will want to listen to.
Is there any negative discussion? Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman.
Abby?
I disagree with this motion because our reporter
Madam
already.
Chairman, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Madam Chairman, I rise to a point of order.
State your point.
Madam Reporter cannot interrupt the speaker to offer the motion, an unqualified motion to adjourn.
Mr. Sentinel, your point is sustained. Madam Reporter, you may not interrupt the speaker to offer an unqualified motion to adjourn. Abby, would you like to proceed with your discussion?
Yes, ma'am. As I was saying, I disagree with this motion because our reporter already attended this last year, and I think she has all the knowledge that she needs.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing that there is none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the reporter will attend a news writing workshop. Madam Secretary. Madam President, I see that you have re-entered the room. May you please reassume the duties of the chair? While you were away, we had a motion that the reporter will attend a news writing workshop, and this motion has been passed. There are no current items of business on the floor.
Thank you. While I was gone, I was informed that because $500 is a lot of money, our advisors would like us to require more than 2 quotes to spend that much money. What is the pleasure of the chapter?
Madam President,
Madam Reporter.
I move to reconsider the vote on the motion to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. I voted on the prevailing side.
Madam President, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to reconsider the vote on the motion to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. It is debatable, unamendable, and requires a majority vote. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President,
Madam Reporter.
I made this motion because, as you said, $500 is a large amount, and our advisors want us to up the quotes so that we have more credibility for this purchase.
Is there any negative discussion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote on the motion to reconsider. Those in favor of reconsidering the vote, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. The motion now before the chapter is to require 2 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President,
Madam Treasurer.
I move to amend the motion by striking out 2 and inserting 3.
Madam President, I second that amendment.
It has been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking out 2 and inserting 3. It is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote, and may be reconsidered. The floor is open for discussion.
Madam President,
Madam Treasurer, as maker of the amendment, you have right to first debate.
like we all said, $500 is a lot, and upping the quote is just obvious, so I encourage y'all to come with me and pass this amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment passes. The motion now before the chapter is to require 3 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We will require 3 quotes for all chapter purchases that will exceed $500. What is the next item of business?
Madam President.
Madam Vice President.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Madam President, I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. Shall we by general consent adjourn? Hearing no objections, we shall. This meeting is adjourned, Madam Secretary. Madam Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Madam President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should properly come before this meeting? We are about to adjourn this meeting of the Cinco Ranch FFA chapter. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, join me in a salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now declare this meeting adjourned.